it's Victor, King of Morons. Welcome to another long-ass video.
Hello there YouTube, it's Victor, gimmeabreakman, the King of the Morons, here to answer one of your questions. This is a special one coming from a person who I will only refer to by his first initial, Q. No, just kidding, T. Nobody has a name like Q. But, hi guys, it's 2 in the morning, no, it's 1:30 in the morning, don't lie, Victor. And he's going to send me this long question we have here. Just in case, this is this is not a plug, but what I'm using here is something called I Show You Instant. And I have the advanced, I paid for the advanced copy, so when I click here, you should be getting some halos. But anyway, let me read this. It's an interesting, this is going to be a kind of a laundry vlog, because it's an interesting mindset or interesting question, and the background's interesting too, and this person's interesting. And I do have to apologize. I meant to answer this, I think on the 8th, March 8th. What is that? Like more than 10 days ago, like 2 weeks ago. Poor Victor had many problems. So I'm not going to, fill your head with, I'm not going to make all these excuses. But anyway, sorry, I do apologize, Mr. T. And let's get to it. Okay, so here's the background on this question. I am from Prescott, Arizona, which is a smallish retirement community. Okay, never heard of it. I was born and raised a country boy. Okay, cool. And I am about to graduate from NAU. I don't know what that means. National Arizona University? I don't know what that means. With a BS in chemistry. I noticed how I was talking to someone else about this today. People give their initials to their universities as if everyone will know. But anyway, with a BS in chemistry. Okay, so he's a smart person. Chemistry's tough, man. I have taken martial arts throughout my life. And where is it? Starting in boarding school. Boarding school. The implication is he comes from a rich family if he's from a boarding school. I had one sensei who taught Shotokan karate. What is that weird thing where women are interested in young boys? Isn't that something like Shoto something? Okay. Anyway, I don't know exactly what kind of Shotokan karate is. I've done Taekwondo myself. I think my father did karate. I remember watching him do karate when I was a little boy. He got up to brown belt. I think brown belt is a terrible color, don't you think? Anyway, let's just skip around. But I had great respect for him, and he had an even greater respect for Japan. In the Japanese way. That's kind of neither here nor there. So you respected him, and he respected Japan. Okay. Sounds like what is it called? Oh my god, I can't remember this. Unrequited love. I am a history buff, and so I've always had an inherent love for Japan as well. How can one not with their beautiful, complex, and respectable history? Okay. I don't know if history can be respectable. History just is. A lot of people would say there's a lot of things about Japanese history to be embarrassed about. Anyway, I'm not trying to be I'm going to cut down on the smart ass comments, but seriously, I'm not sure. I don't think you can really say history is respectable, but you could say proud. But anyway, I suppose I am somewhat of a Japanophile. Okay, but I am also conscious, misspelled, of the diversity within Japan and the need for me to manage my expectations. Something interesting about science majors is they're often a little bit weak when it comes to spelling. Anyway, I am also conscious of the diversity within Japan and the need for me to manage my expectations. Okay, I don't know about, well, there's diversity everywhere if you look closely enough. It's not so apparent as in America or other countries, but you need to manage your expectations. Okay, I agree. Alongside all of this fascination, I feel very disenchanted with the USA. Okay, this is why I want to read this, guys, too, because I want to ask you guys how you feel about this. I think it's kind of an interesting thing here, to feel disenchanted with something. But anyway, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Disenchanted with the USA. Oh, I suppose so. We are a country, but not a nation, strictly speaking. And this is where he kind of lost me. A nation being, in this case, a large group of people with a common culture. Now I feel I have no place here. So, I don't know, guys. Do you think America still has a common culture? I would say we do. I think there's still a lot that ties us all together, but you can argue with that. And I feel I have no place here. I'm not the religious type, but I am also the kind of person who desires the ability to start meals with the equivalent of itadakimasu. So in Japan, before you start eating, you put your hands together and you say itadakimasu. And this is something that my wife has been teaching my son. It's pretty cute. Right before he starts eating, she'll say itadakimasu to him, and he's supposed to, start eating. So he's kind of okay at it with it. I think he's finally getting the hang of it. He finally learned to say hi. When you call someone's name in American schools, I'm sorry, Japanese schools, you say that someone's name. For example, in my case, Bikta-kun, I'd be a little boy, kun, and I'm supposed to say hi. I'm supposed to do that. So we're teaching them to do that. It's a little Godzilla, hi. Okay, so there are a lot about Japan that is not necessarily religious, but is definitely traditional. There are a lot of set phrases. We call them kimari monkus, like itadakimasu, okaeri, okaeri nasai, or itekimasu, saki ni dozo, or saki ni otsukaresama deshita, that kind of things. These kind of set phrases. But anyway, okay, so he likes that, and I do too. I'm someone who there's some structure to that it's kind of reassuring, when you're, it's kind of reassuring to know exactly what to say in certain situations. I know all this sounds illogical, given that I'm trying to make a place for myself in a country where I will be the outsider and the minority. Not necessarily. There's nothing wrong with feeling, being comforted by pattern or routine. I think a lot of us do find that comforting. Psychologically, it's proven that routine and what's it called? An environment that you are used to, a kind of common environment. No, a comforting environment is psychologically. Well, that's not the word I want. A familiar environment is comforting. Yes. However, given my disdain for the U.S. politically correct bullshit and what I term Westernitis, even if somehow I never find a single person in Japan to connect with, I wouldn't be any lonelier than I am now. And that's an interesting thing. This is what I want to talk to you guys about. I made a video before called Japan Cannot Help, Cannot Save You, which basically says you've got to learn to be comfortable in your own skin before you come here. I don't think coming to Japan will necessarily make you feel any better. Back in the States, I always kind of felt as slightly as an outsider. People would always ask me, "Where are you from, really?" And I came to peace with that. And I was very comfortable in the States. I wasn't running away from anything. I never intended to live in Japan this long. But I'm comfortable here now. But I will admit that it is definitely you're more, I guess, alone in everyday society, than you would be in the States. It's definitely easier to make, I guess, friends in the States, but it's not impossible to make them here. But, at the same time, I'm at a point in my life where making friends is not that important. I mean, I'm almost 30 years old now, so, I don't have time for all these friends. No, when you get married and you have kids and you have jobs and things to do, and you have enough friends as it is, like Jerry Seinfeld said, sorry, all those positions are filled. I'm not, we're not hiring. So it's not a big deal. But if you're younger, when I was younger, I will admit that it is kind of lonely, except for the fact that and I'm not trying to say this replaces it, but I had girlfriends, so I wasn't lonely, so to speak. And I would go out with her and her friends sometimes, and I had my male friends and some mostly foreigners, to be fair. But I do have lots of Japanese friends as well. But it's a different kind of friendship. Anyway, so let's go back to this. Let me see. So he says he wouldn't be any lonelier living here alone than if he lived there. And I can understand that. And I think that's important when you consider coming over to Japan. You got to be sure that you're that kind of person, because some people can't. They can't. They just can't. They feel like they're really lonely in Japan. They can't find the friendship that they need. It really depends on the person. They get homesick. So if you're the kind of person who gets homesick, well, I've never been homesick, and I've traveled quite a bit in my life. I think I've never felt homesick, ever. Anyway, you know what it was? I think I remember now. I remember this kid came to visit me from. Well, I used to live up in Boston, and we moved, and this is what it was. We all decided to take a trip down to Florida. We drove down to Florida from, I live in New York, but before I lived in Boston, and we drove down to Florida with my neighborhood friend, my buddy, and it was my father and mother were driving, and me and my brother, and I think my sister was there too, and then this kid Alex, great kid, he's my best friend, but he kind of whined, on our trip. He was all like, "Oh, I miss my mom," and he was crying, and I thought how pathetic. I felt, even though I was a kid, I must have been, I don't know, 10, 12 years old. Must have been about that, somewhere, 10 years old or so. But I remember seeing him crying, and I thought, wow, that's so. I thought he was pretty pathetic to be crying, and I think that might have cured me of ever being able to feel homesick, because I just thought how pathetic. Anyway, so. Let me see. I would actually be more satisfied existentially paying taxes, living and dying in a country I respect rather than a country I can't understand or love. So he doesn't understand or love America, which is interesting. I'm very American. Even now I consider myself American, and I do have a strong affinity towards America. I don't know if you can really use the word love, because it's a piece of land and it's an idea. But I'm very comfortable calling myself an American, and I do identify as an American. Yeah, so I know there are occasionally I will run into someone who insists that I'm not American, or wants to know where I'm really from. Of course, I was born in Peru, but I only lived there a year, and I have no psychological connections to Peru. And I know almost nothing about the country, except some of the food's really good, and a lot of my cousins live there. And aunts and uncles, and it's parts of it's beautiful, and it's also an incredibly dishonest and corrupt country. But I don't see myself as Peruvian at all, or identify as that at all. Anyway, I know you have said you love America, but for me, here we go. Yeah, he does that. But for me personally, living here, I find it harder and harder every year to even just accept people who think men and women aren't different. White men are the cause of all evil, and they should be punished for their ancestral deeds. I find it harder and harder and they should be punished for their ancestral deeds. That life should somehow be perfectly equal for people, regardless of talent or effort, etc. So I think what he's talking about is what we call a meritocracy, and he's against. From what I see, he's against that, and he doesn't like people who think white people are evil. He doesn't like people who think men and women are different, and I guess PC bullshit, right? Well, that's good. I think the first time I read this email, I thought he was saying white people are evil. Okay, I understand that. You don't like people who think that. Okay. Oh, son is crying. No, he's moaning in his sleep. My wife said. Going back to my old sensei, I have not been able to find anyone who holds similar standards in their school. So a big aspect of why I am coming to Japan is to train in a highly structured and traditional dojo, which I suppose do exist, but I would say, I think it's probably not that different from many countries or many dojos where some of the people are serious and some of the people are not. It's not like you're going to come to Japan and become a better martial artist, because in the end it really depends on you, on how much you get out of it. A good student can get a lot out of a bad school if he, but you're right. A better teacher is, the better the teacher, the better, if you're a good student. Okay. His current plan is I plan to leave for Japan this summer, maybe July. Obviously, I have no idea if Japan is where I want to live and die, although I mean something that in details. I don't know. Okay. I don't know, but maybe not that important. But Japan is the brightest candidate. Okay. Oh, I mentioned that in the details. Huh. Okay. So here's my current plan to my research. Okay, let's see. Here's his plan to come to Japan, and I guess he wants my opinion on it. I've already started learning Japanese with Tofugu. Good. He's a good school. You can also learn with magisensei.com. Okay, let me just plug my own site, which is a free site. And Tofugu and I are friends. Koichi. I proved to you we're friends because I know his real name. Now we talk once in a while. We support each other. magisensei.com, and they have a lot of free lessons there. Once you get a little more advanced, go over there. By the way, the most important thing is to start studying. If you want to study Japanese, you can learn hiragana and katakana by yourself. And then after that, there's a lot of free stuff out there. And then when you really want to get serious, then it's important to get a teacher and to start practicing. We do offer native. I teach Japanese, and we have other people who teach Japanese who are native speakers as well. But anyway, so that's my little plug, magisensei.com. Get rid of that. Go back to his article, or his letter. Sell my truck for approximately 8.5k USD. Okay, yeah, that's good. That'll bring you about almost about 900,000 yen, which is good. Go to Japan as a tourist with my money using the visa exemption for U.S. citizens for up to 3 months, stay in hostels, etc. That's good. Nothing wrong with that at all. I'm assuming you're going to be looking for a job at that time, but if you want to visit you and pay homage with some fine American Scottish whiskey, possibly based on your request, if you want something from the U.S. and won't be back soon, ask for, oh. Yeah, of course. Yeah, about visiting me, I'll make an exception with Mr. T, but about visiting me, I can't do it as much as I used to because of the wife and kid now. And my wife, it's hard to explain to her that I'm visiting some guy I've never met before. Though I do it still on occasion. You know, you can try. If I happen to be find time, I'll try to squeeze in a visit. But I always feel bad like meeting someone for like 30 minutes or something. I feel like it's rude. Dude, I'm so busy. You know, I don't want to be like, I don't want to appear stuck up because it isn't really about that. It's just that I'm just busy. Okay. Search around this country with a backpack, find a dojo to train at in a city. I like. Okay. That's going to be expensive. I mean, yeah. What happens often when you have a plan like that? It's hard to keep going. You know, I think you really have to research cities before you go and look for dojos online before you go. It's hard to just find a dojo. And also, I don't even know how hard it is to get someone to accept you because if you don't speak the language, I don't know how dojos feel about that. I suppose if you've already got some skills and you understand some basic instructions, maybe most any dojo will take you. But to be honest, I don't know how easy it is. I don't even know what it costs. And it's not like my impression. We have dojos in my neighborhood. There's one in my neighborhood, but my impression is like their teaching times are pretty limited. Like it's only in the evenings and like Tuesdays and Thursdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays. Okay. Find a job teaching English somewhere. Pretty simple. Now, today I got a comment from someone who used to be at JET, who complained that JET is terrible. I don't know why people always think JET is great. And it's the first time I've ever heard anyone say that. And I actually was talking to Mully today. I said, have you ever heard anything negative about JET? And he said, no. JET is a great way to get your foot in the door. The pay is good. They take care of your apartment. They help you out. You know, they take care of all your needs in the beginning. And as we spoke, as someone else wrote on the same video, it's about poverty and the ALTs, or ALTs poor or something. There's another guy who says he used to be an ALT, and since Interact took over, he says I don't know this. You know, this is not my opinion. Someone else's opinion. He says since Interact took over the ALT market, I mean, being an English teacher is really tough. And then they just they take money off the top. But there are other kinds of English schools. That's the ALT schools, which are connected. Okay, just so you know, the Board of Education, the Monbusho, now works through companies like Interact. They find middlemen to find English teachers, and the middlemen take a large cut, and that's bad. So, and they make you work more. So JET is better. So this guy, he's going to try to find English teaching English somewhere. But there's still ECC and EON and NOVA and those kind of schools, those Eikaiwa schools. And, if you look around, you can find something fairly decent. But, I think we do have to do something about the ALTs, about the schools like Interact. Anyway, so then he says he's going to take my weekend in South Korea to change the visa or whatever. Don't need to do that anymore. That used to be the way. back in the day. Learn Japanese fluently. Very tough, but can be done. But you've really got, as you say in the following, you've really got to immerse yourself. Learning Japanese, like I said in a previous video, everyone's Japanese sucks. But even if your Japanese is mediocre and conversational, you're already in the top 10%. Because most people don't bother. So, I even know someone who majored in Japanese, and as far as I can tell, he cannot speak Japanese, although he's been living here two or 3 years. It's really weird. Okay, so my main question is, what is the best way to get into Japan at first for an American who wants to stick around? Yeah, the tourist visa is fine. Again, like I just said, jet would be a good way to get your foot in the door. If you're from another country, then of course getting a working holiday visa is great. You have to look to see if working holidays are offered by your if you have that working holiday privilege. It depends on your nationality. Americans don't have it. I believe New Zealand, Australia, Canada, maybe Germany has it. Yeah, I'm sure some other countries have it. But. Okay, how long does it take you to get your visa or tourist exemption? Exemption? Well, you don't get it. You just come. If you're an American, you just come and they stamp your visa. They're going to probably ask you they might ask you for a return ticket, like to prove that you're not sticking around. But I never get asked that. I've never been asked that, and I'm brown. They might ask you how much money you have. Right? But I know, like I said, I know a guy who came here with $300 and he got in. I know another person who came with $500 and they got in. So, okay, how much do I need to get an apartment? Okay, that all depends, but a fairly safe number you can get away with is 50,000 yen. Let me see. I'm looking for what you're seeing on screen now is my attempt to see when Batman versus Superman opens this weekend. Let's see, convert US dollars, yen. So 50,000, let's see, okay. So 50,000 yen is approximately, let me tell you in dollars right now, $443 a month. And that's a safe number. I've paid, average of 60 or 70, but even that's $621. Imagine your salary. Let's say it's a low end 200. If you're, that's pretty safe. Maybe you get 180. Maybe 180 is low. Let's say you get 200. So that's a third. That's about almost a third of your salary. About there, right there. Now, of course, if you live in like a shared house or a hostel or something, it's going to be cheaper. But let's say, anywhere into the $450 to $650 range, or 50 to 70,000 yen. It depends on what you're happy with too. Some people can't stand the tiny little apartments. 70,000 will get you fair, at least 2 rooms and a kitchen living. So, okay. Again, it depends on the city. If you're in Tokyo, 70 might be pretty small, but you can still find something for 50 almost anywhere. Okay. How much do I need to get an apartment and live for 2 months? So for 2 months, yeah, we'll just double it. Okay. And there are a lot of apartments now. You guys have probably heard that a lot of in the old days, you had to pay like 1 month key money and reikiki and shikikin, which is basically 1 month deposit, 1 month like just to get in, just like a present to the landlord. Thanks for letting me in, kind of shit. But a lot of apartments don't require that anymore. It's more friendly, and a lot of people. There are still apartments landlords that don't accept foreigners. Period. But there are plenty that do. So if you want to come over here and fight for your civil rights, by all means, go ahead. But if you just want to come and get an apartment, just avoid those guys. Okay, they don't want me, fine. There's plenty of other people who will rent you. It's a shrinking, population, so it gets harder and harder to find people to rent. And they're always building here. People complain about the economy, but there's apartment building going up across the street from me. There's always apartments to rent. Okay. Let me see. How do I need okay. How do I get an invitation to a dojo without any local contacts? I think you just go and knock on the door, honestly. I don't think it's that hard. I think it's just like joining a gym. But, yeah, I mean, they advertise outside. You wouldn't need an invitation if they have a sign outside. So. How much for the weekend in South Korea and traveling to and from? Going to Korea on the weekend, well, you don't need to do that. But just so you know, you can probably go there and back for I think even in the high season, maybe 50,000 yen, maybe 60,000. Low season is as low as 30,000. And some deals even offer, if you go to one of like JIS or ANA or JIS or JTB, yeah, JIS or JTB. If you go to one of those sites, they offer like hotel packages and stuff. So, but again, you don't need to. You don't need to. Okay. Let's see. This is a lot to ask of someone who does not know me yet. But if you would happen to know of a Shotokan or any karate dojo, could you be my contact? Possibly for a job as well after getting to know my character. Yeah, I suppose. You know, I did get a request yesterday to write a letter of guarantee for someone who wants to come to Japan, and I just said no because I don't know who you are. So I won't do that. But if I get to know you, you know, I mean, that takes time though. Okay. Sorry if my sentences are long and entangled. I am also a philosophy minor. That sounds like an excuse. Sorry. No, you were fine. You were fine. Okay. Sincerely thank you for your loyal and moronic subject. Okay. Okay, so that's the email. Not very difficult, actually. Yeah, that's it. Just a minute. Let me see if I can have full screen camera. Okay, we're now full screen. Here's the thing: Japan is not as weird and exotic as a lot of people think. And you know, I came to Japan before the internet was readily available to most people, and I also thought a lot of things like everyone's going to be wearing kimonos and, you know, women are going to be impossible to meet. You know, everyone's going to be, you know, chaste and aloof and, you know, and boy, was I wrong. Man, this place is normal. A lot of friendly people. Everyone's pretty normal. Of course, they're different. They're different, but in the end, they're not because they're human beings. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. I think Japan is one of the easiest countries in the world to live in. It's a pretty easy place to live. And on top of it, to really, the icing on the cake is that it's such a safe country. And coming from New York City, where I had to, you know, I was always looking around to see, you know, who's following me, who's that guy, you know, I was always checking, you know, being careful. Man, I you know, I go inside the store, I don't lock up my bicycle, I just leave it there, you know, and nobody steals it. My brother came and left his camera and wallet at a payphone, nobody stole it. He came back 30 minutes later, it was still there. I've left my computer on a subway twice. My mother dropped her passport here. It was all of that was returned. I've never, I dropped my keys. Riding my bicycle to work, I dropped my keys. Someone turned them in, and I got them back like a week later. You know, I had to call around, but I found it. I called. I got less than that. Like 5 days later, I got it. It's amazing. People just turn shit into the cops all the time. It's a very safe country, and of course there is violence in every part of the world because human beings are X factors. We have no idea what they're going to do. But in general, Japan is one of the nicest, safest countries to live in. Now, of course, there are a lot of things you have to pay for here. You know, the taxes, you know, can be high. You have national health insurance that you're supposed to pay for. They'll take tax right out of your salary from the beginning. They'll take pension maybe, depending on where you work, right out of your salary. That will aggravate you. But there are little things that are a problem. Like if you're a big person, finding shoes that fit you is almost impossible. But you can order things online. I'm a size 29. I buy shoes when I go back to the States every year. I buy lots of shoes that I know I'm not going to need for a while, you know. I think ahead. Mully orders shoes online. His feet are larger than mine. Lucky devil. Yeah, so there are a lot of ways. Even the most inconvenient parts of Japan are not that inconvenient if you just think about how to deal with them, like buying shoes online or things like that. And Japan is becoming more and more westernized when it comes to consumers. Like clothes used to be super expensive here. Like jeans were all like $70, $80 25 years ago. But now you find jeans for $25. I find nice white and you know nice dress shirts. They'll have for $8 at a nice store. It'll just be like, okay, they'll have a rack outside of all the things that are just too big. Nobody wants them. They happen to be my size, right? The largest shirts. You will notice that if you're, I'm not even that big. I'm just under 6 feet. I'm like a size 43 jacket or something. But I'm a double L or triple L if it's Uniqlo, you know. So whatever you think you are in the States, you're a bigger size here. But anyway, like I said, food, you know, a lot of people are worried, oh, everything's going to be seaweed. No, there's a lot of food that you don't have to like fish or stuff. There's lots of fried chicken and salads, and of course, it's depending on what you want. Fruits and vegetables are generally more expensive, but it's not that different. It's not that difficult to live here. I hope I answered your question. Thanks for the question. There it is. That's your answer. Thanks for watching, guys. And I'm gonna go off to bed. It's 2 a.m. It's a good time to say good night, and talk to you guys soon. Good night.
Teach you about all the things in Japan that you wanted to see, and some things you won't believe. So give him a break.
If you need help, then dial your operator.